Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
From all around the globe, or good morning, depending on where you are. I am not typically in this time slot, so my sense of time is a little off on this fine Friday. I guess still before noon in my part, so I shouldn't even say afternoon for where I'm at. But nonetheless, for those who are not familiar with me on the Midday Market Report, I am Riley Magnuson, rocking to you solo here today for obviously a quick little breakdown as we get tipped off for Friday of Day 2 March Madness, with Michigan State, or excuse me, not Michigan State, Northwestern and FAU probably already tipped off as I'm speaking right now. So I'm gassed up to get into today's slate. We'll keep it short and sweet, but wanted to get on and give some thoughts on what I saw yesterday and obviously what I'm seeing today, and maybe a little peek into what's coming tomorrow with the I think 8 games already lined up after what we saw yesterday. Some really interesting lines, some really potentially good games tomorrow. But as I said, it's been a while since I've been on here. Yesterday was a fun day. No buzzer beaters, nothing, outside of a couple upsets, nothing, out of this world March Madness stuff. But still a really solid day of basketball there. I think one of the big things we saw yesterday was a lot of teams, and I'm interested to see if we see it again today. Some bigger favorites kind of playing with their food a little bit in the first half of some of these games. Thinking of Illinois. Arizona, for example, kind of not really jumping out to big leads. If I remember correctly, Illinois was either up 1 or down 1 at halftime, and then obviously the floodgates were open in the second half there. But aside from that, I mean, the comeback from Dayton is one of the probably the second biggest story. Was shaping up to be the biggest one before obviously the Oakland Golden Bears took down old Calipari and the Kentucky Wildcats. A rough early exit for a team that was poised to make or hoping to, I shouldn't say poised, but hoping to make a deep run, get some of the stink of the last few years. 2 years ago, obviously losing in the first round to old St. Peter's. And now you got another stink on your hands that's going to last for quite a bit now into this offseason. I don't think you can use the term hot seat necessarily for Calipari because he's obviously still getting them in position to be in position. But at the end of the day, this fan base is probably not going to be too pleased with what they're seeing from old Calipari right now. Obviously a different time what we had 10 years ago in the era that he was kind of dominating pre-NAL with the amount of guys that he was able to get. A lot of those guys can find money and an easy path to the NBA or making some money elsewhere. So still obviously good teams, but kind of a frantic energy on the sideline yesterday, courtside yesterday, trying to coach this team up. And obviously it doesn't help when you got a guy setting or coming close to setting an NCAA tournament record for threes, but I digress. I mean, you still got to take care of the Oaklands of the world there. So that is going to be a long off season for them, but I'm curious to see where they go next year. The darling, or one of the darlings, I know a lot of people are calling Fooey on it, but a lot of the Popular pick of upset pick from yesterday. McNeese gets the doors blown off of him by Gonzaga. Gonzaga now, I think I saw 4-point favorites against Kansas tomorrow, who was very, very close to being upset themselves at the hands of Samford. So I'm interested to see how that one goes. I think the hesitation with this Gonzaga team is this is without a doubt probably not their most talented team that they've had in probably a decade or so. Maybe I'm forgetting a team or two here, but the point is, and you got a team with McNeese. We've seen a lot of these teams that have single-digit losses, even if they're a low seed, come out of this thing and make a nice run. But obviously, this thing was a pretty quick and over with, pretty quick and early in that Gonzaga game. So I think it's right that with how banged up Kansas is right now, I think it's right that Gonzaga is favored in that game. But that's obviously what I'm looking forward to tomorrow. And then, as I mentioned, Kansas. A good block that wasn't given credit for to the old Jayhawk or to the Samford side of things for Kansas's break that gets them out of that thing. But kudos to anyone that had the plus 7.5 or the dog side of the spread on that one in Samford. I know a lot of people were jumping for joy, but if you had the money line, I apologize on that one. Let's see anything else. Texas, Colorado State. Great defensive performance against Texas. Just couldn't buy a bucket for the majority of the entire game, honestly. A little bit better in the second half, but still not enough to get it done there. And then actually the other team to mention, Oregon, a nice 11-seed win. They were actually the favorite in that game, so you can't call it an underdog other than the seedings in that one. But I think I said it a few weeks ago. You're going to have a team out of the Pac-12 that, we typically forget about the Pac-12 for the most part, aside from the top team or two. And then as the last decade or so has gone, we always have one or two teams that make a nice run that you don't expect. And Oregon could potentially be that team. Dana Altman has been a very, very solid team or coach in March. So I think I have them in the Sweet 16 as well, winning this next game on Saturday as well. I'm drawing a blank on who they're going to be playing in that one, but I digress. Creighton. So I know Creighton was another one that people were potentially thinking they could slip or make a deep run here. So 5.5-point spread on Saturday for Creighton, but the old Oregon Ducks might give them a run for their money on that one. So I think I'll be siding with, at least as of right now, with Oregon. Obviously, got to check into things as we get closer to it tomorrow, but for all intents and purposes, my friends, let's get into today's slate. As I said, Northwestern getting started already today. Northwestern and FAU. Excuse me, that one. 4.5-point spread in favor of FAU there. My own personal thoughts, obviously, I'm a Big Ten guy, so I skew a little bit that way typically. But I had this was one of those ones where I think it's a good matchup. I had a Boo Buie as one of my potential tournament heroes, so to speak. So that is one where I'm kind of leaning on potentially. If you get a Boo Buie hot stretch here in this first half or so, or even in the second half, then I'm be interested in Northwestern. Excuse me. But next one up in about 20 minutes or so, Colgate and Baylor. I don't have a ton of thoughts on this one. I was not the biggest fan of Baylor in general this year. So I think they're adequately rated here. Don't know a ton about Colgate, but I was a little interested in Colgate and the points in this one just because I'm kind of calling BS on Baylor. It was a potential upset pick for me in as far as brackets are concerned, just because I don't think they're going to get much further than the next round, even if they do win this game handily or at all here. So just be a little wary of Baylor, but that's my own personal thoughts of not being completely sold on the old Baylor Bears there. That next one there, is that the next one? I think the next one after that one, UAB, San Diego State, 6.5 for San Diego State. Obviously a team that made the championship last year in San Diego State. Not quite the same team. I am kind of leaning towards the under on that one. Could see a nice defensive game out of the old San Diego State Aztecs and this UAB team. I think UAB is, they are a bid stealer for sure. I don't want to call them underrated, but maybe a little bit of a team that's going to be at least scrappy on defense. Might not be able to buy a bucket, kind of like we saw from that Colorado State game yesterday, but color me interested in the under 140. I do think this one could be a slow, snail's pace game. These teams have been living a bit higher than that lately, so color me interested in the under 140 out of that game. Western Kentucky and Marquette. This one I don't have strong thoughts on. I am not the... Marquette, it depends on what you're getting from Marquette. This one is either going to be Marquette wins by 20, 25, 30, or they could get a run for their money from Western Kentucky. I'm not expecting too much from Western Kentucky here. I do think this one could, I want to say this is the highest, one of the two highest totals of the day. I'm sorry, second and third highest total of the day. I've blanked on Alabama's 173 there. We'll get to that one in a second, though. But I'll shade to the over on this one, and I think you could get a good Marquette performance out of this one. If Marquette would have been a team that, if you put them in the first or second slot yesterday before we see any action from Thursday as opposed to how we are today, I could see them having a little tighten, a little nervous if things got weary a little early. But after being able to watch a little day of basketball and relax a little bit, I will shade towards Marquette actually putting up that good performance today. But nothing too crazy on the spread there. I like the over a little better in that one. UConn, Stetson, I can skip over that one. I mean, no upset special out of this one. And, 27.5, I'm not a huge fan of getting into some 27.5, 30-point spreads. So I'll, for Jeff Dawson's sake and his UConn Huskies, I'll go a UConn 40 burger win here. But I'll back off of this one. I am probably going to leave that one off of my card altogether and just monitor it in case it gets a little interesting and all there. The interesting one here, I think you had all 3 11 seeds win in their 11-6 games yesterday. A couple of them were favorites, I think. But you've got another 11 seed New Mexico as a favorite here against Clemson. I'm going to go ahead and buck the trend here. I was not a fan of Clemson, but believer of Clemson a little bit, and was kind of waiting for them to have a matchup like this, a close spread, good matchup that I can back them on. Obviously a lot better at home this season, but after a full day of 11 seeds taking care of business, and now you got another one in New Mexico's case that's a small favorite, I'm going to go the other way and kind of buck the trend a little bit and go towards Clemson. So I don't have a strong thought on the total on this one, but I'm going to lean towards the old Clemson Tigers and the couple extra points there. Give me the couple extra points of insurance as opposed to the money line, but I do like Clemson in this one today. Auburn and Yale. Auburn's obviously a Jekyll and Hyde team in a lot of cases. Was not super impressed by Yale. They obviously are going to be well-coached team, but this one could get out of hand, or Yale could make this one scrappy. I would like to see more of a above 15, 16, 17 point spread. The 13.5 kind of makes me a little weary on this one. Why isn't this one a little bit higher? But at the end of the day, Yale wasn't selling me from what I saw in some of their games that I watched out of them. The hesitation is that Auburn could show up and be a little goofy. But I still do like Auburn. I've got them going, winning a couple games here. So give me Auburn to take care of business. But I'm backing off of the spread on that one. That 13.5 makes me nervous. I was hoping for a little bit higher to give me some confidence there. Only a handful more games. We're probably about halfway through here. Colorado and Florida, a pick'em on the spread from what I'm seeing. Let me see if I see any other ones. I see a 1.5 in favor of Colorado there. Florida has been a team. I had some success with them in their in the SEC tournament. Last 2-3 years, Florida has been a team that has been a thorn in my side. I am believing in Florida here today and taking them on the. I guess if you get that this one, obviously when you got to pick them or a 1.5, you got to look at the price differences there. If you got a let's say I actually saw one book where it was minus 110 on the money line, and I can't remember if it was this one game specifically, but their +1 was also minus 110. So obviously you're going to take the +1, the extra point of the push insurance for free there, but just be careful with you don't want to take a money line in that case when you could add a free point, or maybe it's a 5-cent, 10-cent difference when you can get an extra 1.5 or something like that. But no matter which game you're looking at, that's obviously important, but this one especially. So I'm interested in Florida here today. Colorado offensively has not been all that impressive to me lately, whereas this Florida team defensively can be a little shaky at times, but their offense should be good enough to put up some points here today. So this one is obviously a coin flip, but give me Florida to take care of business, and potentially I think I had Florida winning a couple games in this tournament here. I want to say this is the Marquette side of things. Without looking at a bracket, and it's been 12 hours since I was looking at a bracket, so I already forgot a little bit. But I think that's Marquette, but you can correct me if I'm wrong there. This other one, this one I've been torn on because obviously I'm a Big Ten guy. I've been a believer in this Nebraska team all season long to make a little bit of weight in the tournament here, but they are playing a team in Texas A&M that I have been a believer in myself as well out of the SEC. So this is a coin flip for me. This is another one that's 1.5, right around that pick'em line. So maybe this one was one I was looking at. But nonetheless, you've got a Nebraska team that has won a lot of games this year, 23-10. couldn't quite get over the hump over some of the biggest teams in the Illinois and Purdue's of the world. Aside from maybe I want to say they might have gotten one early in the season. It's been a while now. But nonetheless, this Nebraska team, away from home, not quite as good, but it's still a scrappy team that I think I want to believe in. But again, I like both these teams. I wish these two teams were playing somebody else, and I could pick both of them to advance out of this round here. So I'll go with I'll stick with my Big Ten homerism here and go with Nebraska. But I do think this is going to be one of the better, closely contested games out of the slate today. So give me Nebraska, but give me a close one out of that one. So maybe back off. Or maybe you like one of these teams a lot better than the other and you want to take them. We can skip over Purdue and Grambling, same situation. I don't think you're going to get a second straight Purdue losing to a 16. I think the 27-point spread is fair. Grambling out of the SWAC. The SWAC, not a very strong conference. This would be 10 times more shocking, at least in my opinion. Fairleigh Dickinson obviously wasn't even supposed to be in the tournament last year, but this would be all that more shocking to me if Purdue were to fall again to a 16 seed. I think they are going to beat the doors off of them. They will leave no doubt. I'm not saying I'm going to lay the 27 because that's obviously a ton of points, and you could lay the wood down and beat them by 25, 80 to 55 or something like that and fail to cover. But I do think Purdue, I will say I think Purdue covers at the same time. I'm not going to take it. I don't advise anyone to, but I think Purdue lays the wood down on this one. Duke and Vermont. Vermont has always been a scrappy team that I want to have some interest in. This Duke team, kind of like we've seen from Kansas, Kentucky, Gonzaga. Maybe I'm forgetting somebody else. Not the best iteration of these, this program, this school by any means. One of their, I don't want to say one of their worst, but one of their lower seeded teams that they've had in a while. Obviously they've kind of been in this range, but you get what I'm saying. So we think a lot lesser of them, but they're still a very, very solid team. Another one where the 12.5, I would have felt better about Vermont if this one was single digits. If you're getting a trendy underdog potentially in this one, obviously Duke's got a huge fan base, so they're going to be hammering the Duke side of things. But if I was really, really believing in Vermont, this one would have been like a 9.5. Not to say that they can't cover, not to say that they can't give Duke a run for their money, but this spread's not exactly striking fear in my eyes for Duke's sake here. So I'll say Duke wins this game. And the spread could come down to it. Could be a good, kind of in that 8 to 12 range for a large majority of that game. And then Duke kind of pulls away at the end and covers this one. So I actually am leaning towards Duke covering this one, unfortunately, as much as I would love to see a Vermont upset out of this one. Another one that's in contrast to that, you've got a 4-13 situation here on the other side of things in Alabama's sake, 9.5-point spread. I actually think Alabama is a team that lately has not looked good. They are a team that maybe one of the better cases of a team that at their best has been one of the best teams at the country. I think a lot of people would agree. But obviously that, they've lost 3 of their last 4 games, lose right away in the SEC tournament to Florida, lose to Florida, Tennessee right before the SEC tournament. So defensively, it's a team that kind of just, for lack of a better term, doesn't give a shoot about defense and wants to just outscore their opponent. So the 9.5 does scare me a little bit. We got a 173.5 total. This game is going to be high flying. So I'm not saying they're on upset watch, but kind of in contrast to that Duke situation, the 9.5 is a little concerning. And why isn't this one double digits if Alabama's going to put up 100 points there? Maybe it's because Charleston can put up 90, 95 points. So I'm a little nervous about this one, but I still think Alabama should take care of business. They get a little rest, get a little time to look themselves in the mirror this last week and a half or so. So I'll go with Alabama to win, but in this game probably to go over. But it's a concerning one for sure here. So maybe a little weary on that one. Houston, another 1 seed, another huge spread, 24-point spread. Won't spend too much time on that one. 128.5 might be the lowest total of the day, I think. So I might be interested in that one going under. Just Houston holding Longwood way down. I think Houston doesn't have any interest of losing a 1 versus 16 seed game. So I think their defense is going to show up here. The 24-point spread, I really don't know out of this one. I'll go with the under 128.5 on this one if I had to do something. And then these last 3 games here should be hopefully at least a couple of them, if not all 3 of them, really good games here. James Madison, Wisconsin, I know is one we've all been waiting for. Wisconsin 5.5 points favorites here against James Madison. This is a tough call for me because this is a 12-5 that is obviously pretty trendy. I am a Big Ten guy myself, so I got some homerism. The best thing that I can say in Wisconsin's case is that they've been playing some really, really good basketball. They kind of They have gotten out of that mid-conference schedule lull that they were in, dropped them completely out of the top 25 rankings after being top 10 team for a second there. So they've been playing much closer to what they were for the first half of the season, where they were a potentially top 10 team. I don't personally believe they are a top 10 team necessarily. Still think they're a top 20 team and a team that, as long as they show up, and obviously they've had, not Bo Ryan era anymore, but when they've gotten to the tournament, for the most part, they've taken care of business. I don't want to go back 5 months necessarily, but Jeff and I talked a lot about this Wisconsin season being a huge one for Greg Gard. He has, for the most part, delivered on what he needed to in the regular season to keep his job. But a quick first-round exit, again, it puts him right back on that hot seat again where he needs to perform in the regular season. And then again, for sure, take care of a favorite spot in the first round of the tournament, if not get to the second round or the second weekend, Sweet 16. He saved his job. It was a situation where I think in the beginning of the season I said he needed to get to the second weekend to save his job. I would say the regular season he's done enough to save his job, but if he loses this game to James Madison, kind of puts him right back on the hot seat. So I'll go with Wisconsin to win the game. Could be a very close one though. This James Madison team, we've obviously seen him beat a Big Ten team already this season in Michigan State to open the year. So it's going to be a tough one for sure, but I will go with Wisconsin being a little tougher and being a little bit bigger of a bully than James Madison here. But if you think this is going to be a close game, 3-point game, I have no problem with you being interested in James Madison there. But I will personally be going with Wisconsin in this game here. TCU and Utah State. I don't have strong thoughts on this one. You got TCU minus 3.5 up against this 27-6 Utah State team. Won a lot of games this year. It's just a Utah State team that I don't know a ton of personally, and this TCU team has been very back and forth. They finished the season going back and forth there. So get the doors beat off them by Houston in the Big 12 tournament there. I like to have typically a lot of confidence in this Big 12 conference. But it would not shock me either which way. If whatever happens in this one, I will be leaning towards the total on this one. This one seems a bit higher than these teams are used to, kind of a statement over, if you will. So I'm going to lean on the over in this one, maybe an 80-77 type finish, and this one goes up over that 150 into the 155s, 156s type range there. So I'll go over on this one. It's a coin flip on the actual game for me, though. And then lastly, Grand Canyon and St. Mary's. Another two that I wish they were playing different teams because I want to believe in both of them here. St. Mary's 5.5. I want to say you're going to get one of these two out of Wisconsin and St. Mary's. One of them to show up and look great and probably handle business handily. And then one of them, I don't know, I don't want to say one of them is going to lose here, but I do think one of them is going to fail to cover here at least, if not lose. And I don't know that it's going to be St. Mary's because I do really respect that this St. Mary's program. They've had a really, really good season. Grand Canyon obviously won a lot of games themselves. I'll go with this one at least being a close game. So I like I said, if I'm coupling the two 5-12s, the two 5.5s, 5-12 games, I'll say Wisconsin takes care of business and covers. Grand Canyon covers, and you can flip a coin on who wins this game. This game might 131, another low total, might go under. These two teams have been living above that, so to see a 131 is a little interesting there. So I'll go under, and I'll go I'm kind of soft lean on Grand Canyon to cover this one, but it's not the most confidence I've ever had in a underdog pick there. So that about does it, my friends, for today's slate. We'll go ahead and get on out of here. I know everyone wants to watch these games. Northwestern already off and running 8-8 in that first half there, 10 minutes in, so low scoring. Getting slow getting started there. Tomorrow's slate, Arizona, Dayton, 9.5. I think I will pop on and do a quick show in the morning tomorrow, but just to give you these lines, if you haven't looked at them yet. Arizona, 9.5-point favorite to start the day against Dayton there. Gonzaga, Kansas, next game up. That Dayton-Arizona game, standalone game. This Gonzaga, Kansas, for the most part, will be standalone. Gonzaga, 4-point favorites. Then you get into some stacked games here, stacked time games. Michigan State, UNC. UNC only 4-point favorites against Michigan State. Obviously, a lot of people are going to be respecting Michigan State. That's one where I want to see what the line does. I want to see what the public buy-in on Michigan State is. Obviously, you've got a big brand in UNC up against a big brand in Michigan State with a team that people believing obviously in the tournament. So that one could be could be inflated one way or another there. So I'm curious to see what the public and the big bettors are doing with that game there. Iowa State -7. I didn't talk about them from yesterday. Really, obviously took care of business for the most part with South Dakota State. Kind of let them trickle in a little bit, and then when every time they kind of looked like they were chipping away, put the hammer down there and covered. Washington State obviously takes care of Drake. That one's a 7-point spread there. Oakland and NC State could be an interesting one. Would love to see Cinderella Oakland, although they did say not a Cinderella. If you were watching the post game, not a Cinderella. They believe in themselves. They think they're good. So going to have to get some hot shooting again. Obviously, if they're dropped down to 15% from beyond the arc, this thing's going to get ugly. But NC State obviously playing great ball, one of the hotter teams in the country. 6-point favorites against Oakland there. So Oakland's going to have to show up. I don't know what to expect out of that one. But you could see an Oakland team maybe slip a little bit. But if they're hitting threes again, then that one's going to be another potential upset there. Tennessee, trying to get over the Rick Barnes, trying to get over the hump and get him a deep tournament run there. 6.5-point favorites against Texas. And that Creighton-Oregon game, Creighton 5.5-point favorites. Good Creighton team up against the scrappy Oregon team, underdog Oregon team that could be surprising a lot of people. So I am excited for that one. That one is late tomorrow night. And then, of course, I skipped over Illinois hosting Duquesne, 10-point favorites. Feeling good about that one. That BYU game team could have been a potentially tough matchup for Illinois, obviously. Illinois is going to have a sense of urgency. Have not been to the Sweet 16 since 2005 as a Big Ten guy and an Illinois guy. That is hurts to say. It's not technically shocking to me. It's shocking that the last few years Brad Underwood hasn't been able to take Illinois to the Sweet 16, but he inherited a tough situation, took a couple years to get there. So it is disappointing that 2 or 3 of the last 5 years, they haven't had any. But this is the team that is poised to get to the Sweet 16, in my opinion. I think they'll take care of business there, and then see where we go after that. Going to be tough sledding if they get to that point, but a team that's got a lot of resiliency, and if they get down, not a bad team to look at. Second half lines a lot of the times. They are a very good second half team. So I will be excited for that one. That one is the second to last game, I think, tomorrow night. So I'll be ready for primetime Illinois basketball tomorrow night in the Big Ten. And then we'll see what we got for Sunday after today's games are done and over with. So thank you all for stopping by today. I really appreciate it. I know everyone's trying to watch these games. So let's get on after it and have a hell of a 12 hours or so of probably, hopefully, uninterrupted college basketball. Yesterday, I know there might have been a second of a little downtime there in the afternoon. But for the most part, 12 hours of uninterrupted college basketball is never a bad thing. So I am geared up and ready to go, my friends. Hope you enjoy the day. Hope you have plenty of success today and the rest of the weekend as we get on through this tournament and hopefully have some fun on the way. So thank you all for stopping by. I will go ahead and see y'all, I believe, tomorrow morning. Trying to do a quick show tomorrow morning before I get up and after things. So catch me tomorrow morning. I will put a show up update out tomorrow morning, and we'll go from there. So thank y'all, and I will see y'all later.